Hey everybody, I'm Katie Arroyo.
And I'm Laura Manaswitch.
And
this
is Pinky Promise.
It's a podcast about growing up.
That's right. That was a pretty smooth opening. I'm pretty impressed with us.
So am I. We are growing up as we do this.
Right before your ears. We have a super special guest today that we just spent like a solid 40 minutes just chatting with before we even started recording. We are so excited to have her. We have lovely comedian Madelein Smith. Hello.
Hi, I love you guys so much. Thank you for chatting with me for 40 minutes before we began.
40
Okay.
where that came from.
We have to start this podcast.
I know. Laura was like, so should we start? And Katie was like, no.
Yeah, no.
I don't think so.
Oh, I'm
No.
good. No, I'm fine. Thanks.
I also tried to trick Katie into thinking that we had met, which I don't think we actually did. But I was like, remember when
I'm
we
still
did that
like,
show
did
together?
we?
Well,
I don't fucking know, dude. Maybe we just are group chat friends, but that's cool too. Like,
Yeah.
that's cool. Someone
take
posted
it.
a group chat.
I felt
don't know.
similarly with Katie where I was like, well,
Yeah.
we're Facebook friends and I don't think we've met, but I feel like with I feel like women are more judicious with the rando like
Mhm.
friend requests. So I'm like, maybe we did, but maybe it was just like we were in a comedy group and we're like, this feels
Well,
right.
just be friends.
Like-
Yeah.
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 I feel like as far as female comedians go, like if I get friend requested by a female comic and then I look at their page and it like doesn't seem insane, you know, like if they're not like a Trump supporter or something, I'm like, all right, they can,
Yeah.
I can do it.
yeah,
Okay.
come
Yeah.
on, because they're usually just like very genuinely nice and friendly.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's like a random like 50 to 60-year-old man like standing in front of a brick wall, you know that they're gonna message you.
Yeah.
And be like,
Immediately.
"Hey,
If they're posing with like an elbow propped over a bent knee,
Yes,
it's like that's not
exactly.
we're not accepting that.
If I see a vehicle in one of the first 3 profile pictures.
Yeah, that's how
not-
you know.
Or a fish or an eagle. It's all
Yeah.
no.
I mean, I'll say yes sometimes if I need to be told I'm pretty.
Yeah, right. If you're like, I just want to get the messages. Sometimes I do like to just get those messages, even though they're so horrible. They're kind of like funny, you know, when you get those messages, they're like, you're a beautiful princess. Like, you're like, oh, thank you. Like my scooter has arrived. You see it?
Finally,
Wow.
someone has recognized me.
Yeah,
You're like, it's about time.
yeah, exactly. And
No one
then,
has-
then they get mad because then you like don't respond and they're like, oh, okay, fuck you. And you're like, oh, okay.
You ugly whore.
Exactly.
Stop playing games with me.
Yeah. Why are you toying with my emotions? You accepted this request.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you got to be careful with the request. You got to watch out.
Oh, yeah. Well, we are, speaking of creepy requests,
Yes.
sexual awakenings of men. We are actually here today. So Madelein has a really cool story for us, and we were debating about what the best way to label the story is. But basically, we settled on saying that for this week, we're going to be talking about sexual awakenings. Very salacious and scandalous. Laura, so we did tell Madelein, like jokingly, that we would go through our non-existent
right.
sexual awakening.
That's right.
Laura, do you have a specific moment or like event that you remember feeling like, oh, we got a little something going on?
I don't know. I don't have anything as great as Madelein's story. I mean, I have like I don't want to say I'm still sexually asleep, but as far as like teen stuff, I feel like it was such a mess of figuring it out and trying to figure out like where I am in comparison to my friends, and is that okay, or is that like you can tell as an adult woman I'm still super comfortable talking about it, but
That's what this podcast is for.
ask me again in 30 minutes. I'll be warmed up and ready to go.
Somebody get her a glass of wine.
But yeah, probably. I mean, they're in there. I just have to. They're just not that juicy. It's mostly just being like, oh God, this is gonna take a while to get used to. And you, Katie?
So I was very very business-like about it, and very, and
Yes.
as you could expect, I was very non-emotional about it, where I was like, specifically with, number one, I thought that all boys in our class were idiots. And I felt like high school boys were the most idiotic. And I also was just like, I can't go to college a virgin. I'm not going to fall in love with any of these like derpy guys here. So I just got to find someone that's going to be like the least humiliating and terrible. Cause like the guys in our class were either like in relationships, so they were great with their girlfriends, like if when they had sex for the first time they were respectful and they weren't like spreading rumors and that kind of stuff. And then there was like this other extreme of nightmarish guys that were just like terrible, you know, just like a TV show version of like whatever kind of cyberbullying was possible at that time.
That's right. Yes.
So I very matter-of-factly like chose someone, and it was like I chose them. Like I was like, you.
Yeah.
And I had like a flirtation with my friend's brother, and I was just like, you. And it was just like, we did it, and I was like, all right, we're good. And then I remember out of high school, I was in college, I went to a white, actually, Madelein, you may know this place, Marcella's in Buffalo, New York.
Oh yeah, yes,
It
I
was
do
like
actually know.
Yeah, it was like a drag bar. It was either specifically a gay bar or a drag bar or both. But they had a white party where everybody dressed up in all white, and I remember I made out with. Now I'm like, oh, that was probably a trans woman, but she was so gorgeous, and all my friends were like, you just made out with this woman, and I was like, well, she's really beautiful. And then I, again, very matter of fact, like I was like, duh, she's very beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Of course I would.
Yeah.
And so I've been always very like non-emotional about that kind of stuff, probably as like a defense mechanism, but just also just that's how I have been. So I never had like a truly like wild, passionate. I've always had like good sex, but never like this wild secret, scandal. Or even if it was like a secret scandal, it was like very practical.
We planned this scandal. It will
like I
happen
was like, this is how it's gonna work.
And then we'll shake hands and head our separate ways.
It's not gonna affect me financially.
No. Well, that's very on par. I feel like that's on brand.
We're both answering on brand.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The only thing I'll say.
Okay, here we go.
The only thing I'll say is I remember. I remember. I was afraid of penises forever. I was like, I don't know what they'll do. The whole thing feels a little mystical to me. And then so I like avoided them at all costs. And then my first experience where I was like, I have to touch this thing. I remember being like surprised that the skin itself was soft, because I had only ever heard of it as a hard-on. So I was like expecting metal. Still got like warm flesh, and I was like, well, that's alarming. The fact that it still felt like a person, I was like, that's more terrifying to me than if you had a metal wiener. And I'm gonna shut up now.
No, that was good. We invited Madelein just to get you to open up.
I've told one tale. I'll see you at episode 50. Goodbye. Okay, Madelein, you have to go. I'm so sweaty.
You're like, please just talk. I have to leave. I have to leave the room. Goodbye.
She just fades away in the screen.
Like, goodbye. She actually is just sliding out of the screen right now. For the best. It's so funny that you say that, because I feel like for some reason whenever I do any podcast, people are always like, oh my God, like Madelein's here. And now I'm just like opening up about like my sexuality, and I'm like, oh, I'm literally just sitting here. I'm always just like, oh, okay, cool.
You're like, do your thing. Yeah, that's fine.
Cool.
Just your presence is an awakening.
It's like even over Zoom, like people feel the vibes of my like
The
sexual.
openness. Yeah. We feel that confidence and it's contagious.
That's good. I used to be like a player, but now I'm not a player anymore, but I still try to like give off the vibe of a player. Like I want to be like, what up, girl? But it doesn't really, I don't know. Now I'm 30 and I feel like nobody is interested in me saying what up, girl.
I guarantee there still are people that are interested.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You and like maybe like one or two other people. So thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate it. My tale is very wild. Should I tell it now or is there more exposition leading?
No, you can tell it now and then we'll just ask you a million questions. And then Laura maybe will feel inspired to share one more story. Who knows?
Probably not.
She has left.
This was a big day for me.
She's moved away. It's okay. She's left the country. I understand. So Laura and I were talking over email because I was like, Laura, please, for God's sake, let me do your podcast. I swear to God. And she was like, of course. And then she was very excitable about it. But
I email everybody like a cheer is about to start.
Yeah, you're like, do it.
Okay.
I know. I felt very encouraged. I felt very supported. I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Today I counted exclamation points that it emailed to you, and I was like, it's 2 in a row, and it's too many. But she already said yes, so
no,
just
don't ever feel that way. I do that all the time. Yeah. I do that all the time in like professional or like, I don't really have much of a professional life, but like in emails that are like to professional people, I've used too many exclamation points. I think that's just what you have to do if you're a woman and you're constantly like,
yeah, you're like, yes, I'm happy.
Right.
Yeah. I'm into this.
Yeah,
I definitely use them to code apologize for apologizing.
Exactly. You're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I like exist and I like take up space in the world. Like,
thank you so much.
No, I really like it because I'm also very bad at like, I feel like sometimes I'm bad at reading people's tones over like text. So I actually really like when people use a lot of exclamation points because I'm like, oh, they're happy. Like,
you're like,
my mom just uses periods, and I always think that she's angry at me. Like I always think she's
they
like,
feel stern.
Right? Yeah, they feel like you're in trouble or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, don't do that. But she's 60, so she doesn't understand.
She's not gonna stop.
No. Wait, I'm sorry. I got very off topic. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what we do.
So I was talking to Laura, and Laura was like, do you have a story? We talk about growing up, and I was trying to think of one. And then the first one that I thought of was this like very weird sexual experience I was having with this girl who was she's actually, we went to the same Girl Scout troop. We were in the same Girl Scout troop, and my mom was one of the leaders, and then my mom's good friend was the other leader, and her daughter, this girl who we will not say her name because that would be bad, but this girl who was my age, we became like friends because we were both like 8 or 9 in this Girl Scout troop together. And then we used to have sleepovers, and I was like, now I see her like all the time on Facebook because we like went to the same high school, so we're still friends. We haven't spoken in like 15 years. Like I have but I keep seeing her because she's married and she has a kid. And every time I see her, I like remember all these very weird things that we did together. And I'm always like, I wonder if she remembers this. I always just want to like send her a message and be like, remember when we would like get naked in the bed together? And then I'm like, no, I don't think I should.
She's like mixing formula and like she's got chili going for her hubby, and then she like opens this message and it's like,
I'm like, listen, I know that you're straight, but like, remember? And like, it's weird. It's so weird. So like, I don't know. I haven't really talked about this very much with other people because I don't want to sound like a total like weirdo, but like, I feel like this is kind of a thing that little kids do. Cause I also used to work as a nanny, and I would like see little kids like kind of expressing their sexuality in weird ways. Cause little kids are sexual, but they like don't really know how to
what to do with it.
Yeah. And I think so what had happened with this situation with me and this girl was like, I used to go to sleepovers at her house, and she would like, it was never like anything like overtly sexual. Like we were never like touching each other or anything, but she would always be like, okay, this is what we have to do. This is how we have sex. And then she'd be like, we get under the covers and we get naked and then we whisper things to each other. And then she'd whisper things to me. But the things that she whispered were so crazy. Like she would be like, okay, ride 'em, cowboy.
Oh no, she found her dad's porn.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is one of those where you're like, where'd you come up with that?
Yeah. And she was like, we were both like 8 or 9.
Mm.
And so I was just very like, I wasn't like scared or grossed out or anything, but I remember just being very like confused. Like I was like, what's happening? But I
Mhm.
didn't like dislike it. It wasn't like a negative experience. It wasn't like I was like, oh, I'm, having like a molestation or something. It wasn't anything bad. It was just like a strange thing. And at the time, I didn't think it was bad at all. I was just like, whenever I go over, we just get naked in the bed and she whispers weird things.
Did
to
it
me.
happen? So it happened like every time.
It happened every time we had a sleepover, and I never thought it was bad. I was just like, oh, that's normal, like that's just what we do, it's cool. Like I liked it. Like I feel like I didn't really like it in a sexual way, I don't think, because I was so little, but I liked like, I like liked girls, I guess, at that point, so I like liked having that like closeness to her. But
Yeah.
with like, I didn't have the concept of sex that she did, because I think that her parents just let her like watch anything. And like
They let her watch like cowboy porn. We know that.
I told my dad recently about that. I was like, did you know that she told me that during sex people said ride 'em, cowboy? And he was like, what the fuck? I was like, what are you saying?
Like, no.
So we would do that. And I know, and it's so odd now talking about it as like a 30-year-old. I'm like, that sounds really weird. But like at the time it just didn't seem weird, and we would do it like every single time I go over, and there was never any like penetration, there was never any touching. It was just like, we get naked, we get in the bed, and then we whisper. She whispered. It was very weird. And she was like, this is what you do she was like, when you get a husband, like this is what you do, this is how you have sex. And I was like, okay.
Right.
You're
And
like,
then one
"Sounds good."
time, yeah, you say ride 'em, cowboy.
Did you whisper things back too, or were you like obvious?
No, that's a good question. I was trying to remember. I feel like I must have said stuff to her too, but I don't remember what I said. I don't know like what my frame of reference would be for like when
Yeah.
she seemed like she had a lot of like porn quotes that she knew.
Right. You're like, all right, if it's a Western themed sex,
Yeah.
then
I was like, okay, partner, like
ma'am.
You're like, good day, space officer.
Like I was so not on the same level as her, but I must have participated in some way. I just don't remember. I don't even really remember what we were whispering. I just remember us being like,
Right. It's
you know,
the
like,
tone. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it
sultry
was like,
tone.
yeah, we were very, very sultry. And then one time, what happened that made me think it was bad was because I never thought it was bad, and it probably had been going on for like months or something. And then one time her grandma like came in and we were like naked in the bed, and her grandma like freaked out, and her grandma was like, never again in this house. And it was like this huge drama. And what was so weird to me is like, I don't know why, but I truly had never thought of it as like a weird or bad thing
Yeah.
until her grandma freaked out. And then I was like, oh, I guess this is bad. But like until that, I would have just been like, this is normal. This is cool. This is what we do. We just like get naked in the bed, and it's normal.
You're like, you guys would still be cuddling to this day.
Yeah, we probably would have like gotten married. I don't even know. I feel like her grandma like fucked it up. And then I don't think that we did it anymore after that. I mean, I don't remember. I think that I was like too horrified at the
Right.
concept of like getting in trouble. And I just remember her grandma being really mad, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get arrested.
So did she just like make you guys get dressed and then you just like kept going with the sleepover? Like was she like, okay, now it's fine, I'll close the door again?
Yeah, I think so. I think she was just like, all right, well, you girls, like, you better like sleep in separate beds or something. But we were still allowed to have the sleepover. And then I think we kept having sleepovers, but they just weren't these like weird sexual sleepovers anymore. They were just
Right.
like normal sleepovers. So yeah, it was a very strange experience. I don't think of it as a negative experience at all. The only thing negative about it was her grandma like fucking ruining
Yeah.
Ruining it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that was my sexual awakening, which is a little bit strange since I was like 8 or 9, but I think that was
Were
it.
they like was it like secret or like I guess like obviously we weren't telling adults, right? But like
Yeah.
what did she
Like, did
do
you guys
this
have
with
a
like
group
other
of
friends
friends?
at other
Yeah, like, do you think
sleepovers or
Well, we had like that's a good question because we had like the same group of friends when we were kids, I think, because we were like all like Girl Scout friends, but I don't remember ever discussing it with like my friends. And
yeah.
it's so weird to look back on because I feel like I was just like, yeah, this is totally normal and cool. And like, I don't even think I was like embarrassed by it. I think I just thought that it was like a normal thing. So I probably didn't even bring it up because I was just like, yeah,
That's everyone's doing that.
we're all
Yeah.
doing that. Like, I did tell my friends much later, like some of our mutual friends who I'm still close friends with. I told them like in my 20s or something, and they were like, "Oh, that's kind of weird. Like, what?" And I was like, "Oh." Like,
Especially knowing that
yeah.
she initiated it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is the part that's weird too because I mean, I don't want to call her out because like I don't fucking know her life, but like
Yeah.
she has never dated women. She's, I think, identifies as straight. She's married to a man, and she's like very like she's become one of those women who's very like a live, laugh, love kind of
Yeah,
person,
like very
So
into the heteronormative marriage lifestyle.
yeah,
dating your big
yeah,
hungry guy, you know?
yeah.
I
And
had a friend who
yeah,
was like that also, but it never went that far, but she's very straight outwardly. So I mean maybe she's not inwardly, but she appears to be like happily married, but when we were growing up, it was around that same age, maybe like a tiny bit younger. She would always want for us to like go in a closet together. And she'd be like, let's go in the closet together. And then she's like, you're supposed to make out in a closet. And I was like, I don't know what that is.
That's right.
yeah,
And so like
yeah.
we would never do anything, but she always like wanted to like be like, let's just go in this closet. But I think I think she just had those feelings and like didn't like it was like me or her brother. So she was like,
Yeah,
Right.
oh, this is the
Right.
person that I have to like put that on.
yeah, yeah. I wonder if that's the situation with the girl that I was like being naked with. Like, I wonder if she was just like, she's like, maybe she really never felt any attraction to girls, but she just like wasn't allowed to have boys at sleepovers. So she was like,
Yeah.
this is who's
Okay.
here. So I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, because I don't think there's really they don't make a lot of room in childhood for that, like
Yeah.
for ex not even exploration might even be too strong of a term for it, but I feel like, we tell babies we get real heteronormative with babies with like you're gonna be a heartbreaker and like parents who have kids the same age like marry them off in infanthood together, and then there's no like in your 8 to 12-year-old range of like you don't just have to have a husband if you're a girl or a wife if you're a boy, and
Yeah.
or that there could be more than just those words too. Like maybe that's better now. I don't have kids, but
I think also
then it was for you.
yeah, I think also we let boys be, I think, more sexual than we let women be. Like
Yeah.
growing up, or girls, like the first thing we're like, all we say is like, you better be careful, you better watch out, don't let
Right.
anyone have sex with you. That's all they're gonna want from you.
Yeah.
And so little girls might be why they're like, oh well, my other girlfriend is like a safe person. Like
Right.
that's why it happens in a closet and at night, whereas boys are like, this is my wiener. Did you know it feels good when I touch it?
Yeah.
And then we all have to laugh and
Yeah.
say,
And we're
wow,
like,
what a
"Ha,
funny
yeah,
boy.
Yeah, we're like,
Yeah.
yeah, it does,
Yeah.
right? Now don't do it at school. And
Yeah.
then to the girl, we're like, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get in
Yeah.
that closet.
Reminds
Yeah.
me of our previous guest, Liz Moniz, who said like
Oh, yeah.
she told her family that she looked at her vagina and was told, don't look at it, don't touch it, and like never talk about it again,
my
basically.
God.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of parents do that though. They just don't my parents were not like that, but I also don't think that I'm not sure exactly what they would have thought about the situation that was happening. They probably
Right.
would be like, what the fuck is going on? This is
I think,
weird.
yeah, I think if I was like, if I looking, like I dated a guy that had kids and his daughter was around that age, and I think if they were doing that, I would definitely have to be like, okay, I'm gonna have you put your pajamas on, and then
Like, you guys need to put your clothes back.
like I don't think I'd be at grandma level, but
Yeah.
internally maybe.
Yeah, I don't think you can
Because
let
I would just be like,
8-year-olds
what
hang
is
out
happening?
naked.
Why don't you tell me what you're whispering?
Yeah. What are you guys whispering? I know. I wonder how my mom would have handled it if it had been at like my house, because the sleepovers were always at her mom's house, and it was normally supervised by her grandma or her mom. But her
Oh.
mom like seemed like she was never really paying attention. Like she didn't
So
really
did
get
the
into it.
mom, did her mom find out, or like did the grandma just kind of like yell about it and then it like went away? Like I wonder if she told your mom.
I
What-
wonder if my mom even knows. I
Yeah.
honestly don't know. I should ask my mom, because if my mom did know, she did not mention it. So either she was being really cool, or she was just like, we don't want to get into it. Like,
Maybe grandma panicked and then just kept it within. Maybe
She
grandma
might
never even
have. That's what I'm
told
wondering.
mom.
I think maybe she also was like a very stern, like German immigrant woman too.
Uh-huh.
So she may have just been like, like what the hell
Yeah.
is happening
Like,
here?
this doesn't look like working.
Go do chores.
Exactly. I kind of feel like that the grandma probably like took it to her grave or something, but she may have told the mom. I'm really not sure.
I feel like if she told the mom would be like, I have to tell my friend. Like, especially the fact that they're friends. I'd be like,
Yeah.
well, you know, you probably want to know. You probably don't want to know this, but here's this fun story for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the mom is still good friends with my mom. And then my mom recently, well, there was like a whole thing. I was married to a man for a long time, and he's awesome. Like, we're very close and everything. But we broke up because like I had thought I was bisexual, and then I was like, no, I'm actually just fully gay. Like,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Oops, sorry.
sorry about all those years of your life. Like,
Yeah.
but he was very nice. He's very wonderful, and I still love him very much. He's like my closest friend. So it's like, it's okay. But when I had to tell my parents, and now I've been dating someone who is a woman for like a year and a half now, and I had to like obviously tell my parents, and my parents were like very nice and understanding. But then my mom told her like best friend, who is this girl's mom.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if then the mom told the girl, and if the girl was like, oh. The girl was
right
like, wow.
now somewhere that girl is
like,
having a moment where she's like, should I message Madeleine?
I know. She's like, it's my fault. Like, I did.
Vigorously stirring that
She's
chili.
like, I have magical powers.
Yeah, she turned me gay because she was whispering "Ride 'em Cowboy," and I was like, ooh.
The Ride 'em Cowboy is
Anything's
the
gonna
part
do
that
it.
got you the husband.
Yeah, that was how I got married. Yeah.
Right.
My mom literally, like, oh my God, this is so wild. But my mom, like, this Christmas, like, wrote a holiday letter to some people and was like, well, as you know, like, Madeleine was married and she remains close with her husband, but now she's gay. And I was like, why are you writing this in a holiday letter? She was like, no, that's normal.
Yeah.
I was like, that's what people do. I was like, you don't have to do that. Like, please stop. Just, can you imagine like getting that as a letter and like opening it?
I would love it. I love the whole scandal of the whole thing. Like, not even the gay part, just like she was married, but not anymore.
She had to like add all these like caveats to it. She was like, don't worry, like she and her husband are still very good friends. He still comes over to the house and everything's great. I'm like, Mom, this is like a lot of information.
Still like him.
Yeah. We'll be celebrating Christmas together.
Here are some quotes from the divorce decree.
I know. I was like, Mom, you don't need to. I mean, listen, I'm obviously very okay with like talking about things in public, but I just feel like that was like, I was like, these people don't really need
that level. I love it. I think it's so funny for parents right now to be like, how parents in this specific, like the last 10 years or so, are being like actively proud. Because I remember I was married to a woman previously, and my mom was like, grew up like, I would say like repressed Irish Catholic.
Oh
And
yeah.
so for her, this was like, it was such, and we weren't terribly close because she like was not the nicest growing up. Like she grew up a product of her childhood. And so in my 20s, I feel like for her, she didn't have that stress of like, are you going to go to college and get a good job? Like she was able to be like more of a friend, I guess. And so she like relished this opportunity to be okay with it, where to the point where she would be like like strangers. She'd be like,
oh yeah,
they are both getting married and it's gonna be a beautiful wedding. And and I was like, he doesn't give a fuck. Like,
oh my
this
god,
kid,
you're like,
this
this
kid,
guy doesn't need to know.
yeah, he just wants to sell us groceries. Like, he doesn't,
He's just at his job. He's just
he
trying to
doesn't
make
care.
a living.
When I
Or
get
like,
up and say my truths
that's
into a
crazy.
microphone, it's fun. But when you
Yeah.
tell strangers, it's too earnest.
yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Basically, all of the supportive moms like need a podcast.
They
That
really
newsletter is your mom's podcast.
she's like listening. I felt like she was like listening to Irish folk music and like writing this letter. And she's like, my daughter's just a wee lesbian. I don't know. It was like a weird.
You might remember her when she was a wee lass, but now she likes other lasses, and it's fine.
And we think that's beautiful. We
That's
all
wonderful.
Oh,
love it.
Now, Katie, that's very interesting, though. I did not know that about
Yeah.
you. So that's a very interesting thing about your life. Do you? I'm not to like
Yeah.
call out your sexuality.
Oh,
at
no,
all. I
it's
don't mean
okay.
to do that. Do you identify as bisexual or pansexual, or do you just like
So
not really put a label on it?
to me, I guess, so I just never put a label. I would have to say bi, I guess, but I would never like growing, I was very unemotional about the whole, I mean, honestly, like I started dating someone and then my friends were like, what? And I was just like, yeah, that's my girlfriend. And they're like, okay. Like, they're like, that's Katie. Like, we're just not, I'm like, can we just skip that coming out part and can we just get to where everyone knows? And like friends were like, who should we tell or not tell? And I'm like, tell everyone, because I don't want to have this like, I don't care what you think right now, especially in my 20s. I was very much like, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about anything. So I didn't want to like have to come out, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, why should I have to come out? This is the person that I'm dating and you can figure it out. Like you can deal with it.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. I always used to talk about being bisexual like on stage constantly, but I never really I never had like a big coming out. I would just be like, oh, I'm dating this person or I'm hooking up with this person, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't, because I feel like coming out is kind of like, I don't know, it is like a whole process. And sometimes you're just like, I don't feel like talking to everyone about this.
I don't want to give that to you. Like, it's just like sometimes you're just like, you don't have to tell me about why you liked your spouse. You know what I mean? Like, so I do feel like a little bit of, I felt, I also like group chat texted my friends when we got divorced. So like that's my method of just like I don't want to do this emotions. Like going through the emotions once was good. I don't want to do it 4 times over. Can we just do this in a group chat? So for me, like I think for a lot of people, I grew up very independent to the point where if I felt like my family would disown me, I'd be like, it's fine. I pay all my own bills. I do, like, I cook the holiday dinners. Where are they going to eat? Like, so, like, for me, it would be like, I didn't have room for them to reject me because I was already so independent. Whereas I know there are other people that grow up, like, very dependent on their family, like, emotionally and financially and whatever. And I understand that that's probably more of, like, you have to care more about what they think, whereas I had just the way that I had set up my life or the way it had come along, it was just kind of like, you guys got to take it or leave it. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And so I kind of just never, and my friends were like really good about it and very very straight and very just like, so who, like when my first girlfriend and I broke up, they're like, so what are you, like, who do you think you're gonna date next? And I was like, I don't know, let's just see. And everyone was just kind of like, yeah. Like, that's fine. And then after we got divorced, the last 2 people I have dated, and also I've been at my job for the same for so long that like people from my work went to my wedding, and now they're just like, are you and Josh gonna get married? So like, we want to go to another fun wedding. Like everyone in my life, like in my close circle, is just very very okay with it. And then I did find when I was dating, when I went on dates and they were with guys, I was like, I'm just going to tell you this up front. Actually, I think I told them before the date, because I was like, I don't, like, if this is a problem for you, obviously this isn't going to work. And then also, I don't want to be with someone that thinks that way anyway. So let's just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Like, my 4 closest friends are like 4 guys that are like in a quad. So like, that's something people have to, I'm like a business version of Madeleine, where I'm like, I'm very comfortable with everything, but not the feelings. So like, anything, I'll go with anything. Anything is like, I'm okay with literally anything as long as you're nice to who you're with and they're nice to you. But like my boyfriend now will make jokes. Some comic, like we said something like, we were like, oh, the 2 of us do blah, blah, blah. And she goes, gay. And he goes, actually just a quarter between the 2 of us. I was like, so like, he's actually super, just a little sprinkle.
That's cool. That he sounds very nice. Cause I feel like my husband was always really, really nice about, like, he obviously knew that I was bisexual. He was like totally cool with all the experiences and everything. And it's nice when you can find like men who are not emasculated by it.
Exactly.
Sometimes straight men tend to be like, oh my God, what?
Like what? Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it was just so funny. I was like, well, you are cooler about this than my ex-wife was. It's like, how's that happening? Yeah. But I think I think it is like tough to find men who are so comfortable with it. Like, some of them will be like, yeah, I don't care, but then like they're like, I also don't want to like talk about it or joke about it or like anything. And he's pretty like, if we talk about our exes, it's just like, we're both talking about those bitches. But like he's like super chill about it, which is good.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really nice. That's nice. It's always very nice when you can be in a relationship with like a nice normal man and not like a maniac.
Yeah, truly.
Always
truly.
Really nice. Yeah.
And then sometimes I feel like this is just now like pinky promise, what are your psychological disorders? But I feel like I like chaos so much that sometimes I'm like, if things are like, I'm like, oh, he's just even keeled. And I'm like, why don't you be a little crazier? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah. I do that too.
Break a dish every now and then.
Yeah. I'm like, come on.
Yeah. Do you guys feel like during the maybe you guys aren't like this. Well, you might be, Katie. I don't know for you, Laura, but for me during the pandemic, I feel like I have like maybe not 100% on purpose, but I kind of on purpose have like started fights with my significant other just out of like sheer like needing to feel something.
Yeah.
Because it's like such a weird time, right? And you're just like, well, I can't really do comedy. There's like barely any shows happening. Like I have like no creative outlet. So instead I'm just going to like pick a dramatic fight. And then you like regret it. Once the fight starts, then you're like, why did I do this?
Yeah. Or I'm like, and he knows it right now, I'm being like quietly mad at him. Like for nothing. Like, and I just told my friend, she was mad at her girlfriend. She goes, she's being super annoying because I want her to go to the store. And I go, please, can you just tell her that you want her to go to the store? And I go, can you not be mad that she doesn't know that to want to go?
Yeah. Like,
and then I'm like to myself, I'm like, you're mad at Josh for not knowing that you like, I went home and was like, thanks for doing whatever, like whatever it was. But I find myself being like, yeah, I can take this tree if I move out. Like, where is this coming from? And I know it's just like an unrest because we've just been like we've been cooped up so long, and I think we don't have that that energy feedback that you get from stage. So you're like you said, you're like, I have to create it somehow, even though like really we probably don't need to.
I know. It's so bad. I realize now throughout the pandemics, because it's been going on for so long, I realize now that I just like need attention, whether it be like positive or
Oh
negative.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just like, I don't care. I'll start a fight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like, we're gonna cry. It's gonna be dramatic. I just want like, and it's weird because then when it's happening, I'm like, why did I do this? This was horrible.
Do you do you find like if you start something like that, you'll like start it and then about 5 minutes in, you're like, well, now I'm bored of this. Like, I don't want to be in this anymore and I want it resolved.
Yeah, I did. I like literally, and then sometimes we'll get in like a fight, not even a fight, but like a big talk that goes on for hours and hours. And I'm always like, oh, like why are we having this talk? And then she'll be like, you like started, you were the one who brought this up. And I'm like, oh God, like this is so fucking boring. I'm like sick of it. Makes me sound like a complete
crazy.
Like,
yeah,
like a psychopath. Like
that's okay.
We get by. We do what we have to.
Yeah,
I just told Laura like last week that all of these products started arriving at the house, and it was like developer and bleach and like 3 different toners, and the developer for the toner, and Josh, my boyfriend, was like seeing them on the counter, and he was like, hey, are you bleaching your hair? You're gonna dye your hair? And then like the big thing of bleach showed up the next day, and he's like, are you bleaching your hair? And he's like, what are you doing with all this stuff? And I was like, oh no, that was when I was manic last week. I'm not gonna do it anymore. I'm like, the product took too long to get here. I'm in a low spot now.
Now I don't have the will to make change.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can't even wash my hair, let alone dye it.
Yeah. That's happened to me a lot throughout the pandemic, where I'll get really like amped up and I'll be like, you know when you're having like a manic episode and you're like, I'm just gonna not sleep for 2 days and I'm gonna like write a manifesto.
Yeah, I need to write something.
Yeah.
And then I started reading, like, and I need a writing partner. Then I could get stuff done, I think. But I like around September, I was like, why don't you read all 6 of the novels that you started?
Yeah.
It's such a nightmare.
Yeah, I'm always thinking I'm gonna write a book, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do that.
No, I just keep thinking like it used to be if I get the right notebook, everything will change for me, which is similar to water bottles. My secret to hydration is $40 away. I know it, but also like I haven't grasped that the key to getting better at writing is just fucking
writing.
And I'm still like, well, probably this Facebook group full of strangers is going to be the one that gets me.
I'm just like, I'll find a partner who wants help with their idea, and I'll be able to like just access that creative part, but I don't have to worry about coming up with the plot.
Oh God, I feel like improv has truly turned me into like as much as it has shaped my life for the better, it has turned me into an everything will be fine person. So like I don't have to, and I mean my whole being is anxiety, but as far as like preparation goes, I'm just like, well, I assume if you show up it'll be fine. And as it turns out, not everybody follows that. So and I'm just like, I just need a chance, and I promise I'll be good at whatever it is I'm asking you to let me do. If you want me to prove it to you with work I've done,
It's not
getting there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're all just doing the best that we can, and nobody is writing that book except Leah.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, motherfucker. I just did it. I'm so proud.
I got a message today that was like, hey, I'd love to get you on this like comedy show. How's February? And I was like, great, but I did have it in my calendar for this Sunday. And then it was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like it was just a calendar confusion. And I was like, it's truly fine because I don't think I've written a joke since I was on your show 2 months ago. So that's what my brain can do right now, but I'll show up in February with something new and it'll be fine.
Yeah, the pandemic is, I mean, obviously very horrible for like very serious reasons, but also very horrible just for very like mundane
Mundane.
reasons, you know? Like I feel really bad complaining because I'm like, people are dying. Like I shouldn't, but I'm always just like, oh, I miss comedy and like hanging out on the street. Like,
Yeah.
and, you know, things that truly are not that important. But it is weird because especially with comedy, like you get so laser focused on it. And I've been doing it for like 7 years now. And you guys know how it is. You just are so focused. And then when it goes away, you're just like, wow, I really gave up having like a social life.
That's
right.
yes.
Yeah.
What's my identity filler?
It is
Because
your
it used
identity.
to be I would
Exactly.
just drive to where I needed to be. That was
I
it.
think
Exactly.
for people, probably dare I say, like all of us in the group chat that are right in the Zoom chat right now,
Yeah.
when you're an anxious person, it helps to not have time to worry about things when you have to
100%.
like go to your job, come home, you have 16 minutes to eat food and put on your comedy outfit and then go to the show and then go to the
Exactly.
next show and then drive home and go to sleep and then wake up and try to work out and go to the, like, and you're just doing that constantly. You don't have to sit with yourself, even though we think we are because we're writing jokes. We're not sitting with ourselves like we have been.
I
Yeah.
used to have in my when I lived in Connecticut, I had like a magnetic calendar on the inside of my front door to like guide me through the week, and it was just a 7-day, and I would update it every day with where I had to be. And I like nothing thrilled me more than when it was so full that I was like, I don't know how I'll get through this, but
Yeah.
that's what fucking got me through it. And now if it's like 7 empty days, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through that. Like, and now it's just been 9 months of 7 empty days.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's a very different beast.
And Laura, you're in LA, right?
Yeah.
So that's even that seems to me to be even worse because you guys have basically been in lockdown like for the whole time, right?
It's been so I I moved here just over a year ago. So I got 3 months
Oof.
of being shy, and then I told myself March is when you stop being shy and
Oh,
you
no.
go do the thing.
Oh,
And I
no.
got the night before everything locked down, I went to one last in-person open mic where the host, who's actually a future next podcast guest, wore a fencing helmet
Oh my
and
God.
had like there was no mic and there was like a thing of hand sanitizer on the stage, and that was my last in-person open mic. And then yeah, it was like really shut down, and then over the summer stuff started coming back because capitalism, and then
Mhm.
now we're in this really awful spot where the cases are just staggering day over day over day, which is not unique to us, but it is really alarming. And the rules, they're like, stay at home, don't go anywhere, no gatherings with anybody you don't live with, but everything is still open. You want to go to the store, you want to go to the park, you want to go to the beach, you want to go here. And it's like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't eat outside anymore. That's the only thing they really, really cracked down on.
Oh,
But
okay.
like,
But you can
but
shop.
everything is open while
But
they
you can go
wink,
to
wink, yell
stores.
at you to
Yeah.
I was in a fucking store that had the word whimsy in the name the other day, and I was like, that's not essential. Like, thank
Not
you.
an essential business.
But I'm
Thank you
here.
for
Not
the
an essential
Christmas
business.
presents that I bought while I was in your beautiful store.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but close
that's
this shit down.
not an essential business at
No,
all. Well,
no.
and also I think like you said, the thing about capitalism, I mean, it really is a very capitalist thing where they're just like, oh yeah, we need everyone to stay home, but also like we're not going to give you your unemployment money anymore.
Yeah.
So like it's like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like a lot of people, if you can work from home, that's great and amazing, but like a lot of people can't. So
I have been very fortunate to be work from home, full-time employed through all of this. And I moved
nice.
into the apartment I'm in now in September. But prior to that, I was living with two
A
actors,
million.
a comedian, and a personal trainer. So it was like
Oh wow.
All
the
dudes.
income in that house was
God.
just leveled. And it
Yeah.
was like, I guess I'm gonna work real hard in my bedroom and keep paying my rent.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm actually gonna move out of this house. Best of luck to you all. But
Like I gotta get out of here. Goodbye. Yeah.
but it's crazy to and then when they took like the extra away from people, like,
Oh yeah.
pay fucking people to stay home and stay alive, man.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I totally agree. I think I don't know. I think that the whole thing is, well, obviously we've failed as a country miserably. Like we failed miserably, but they are telling people to stay home, but then they won't pay for people to stay home.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Even comedians, like I was talking to a male comic who's like very nice dude. But he's like he's like a headliner on the road and stuff. And he was like, I know you're probably judging me because I'm going out on tour. And I was like, I mean, I don't think it's a smart idea, but I'm also not judging you because I understand that that's like your source of income.
Exactly. You have to work. Like, especially those types of positions, they're not getting, like, I know a lot of people that couldn't even get unemployment because they were just like, I don't have an employer. Like, my employer is the public.
Yeah,
so, like,
exactly.
there were issues filing for them. But
yeah, that's why it's weird because it's like the whole time that I was working as a nanny, I always was like, oh, I don't want to be a nanny anymore. I just want to be a full-time comedian. I don't want to have to go to a day job. But I'm actually so glad that I still had a day job when this started.
Yeah.
Because therefore I was able to get unemployment and I was able to get like the extra $600 a week for a few months. And that like really saved me because if it weren't for that, like, I don't know, it would be really hard if you can't qualify for that. It was hard for me and I was getting it. So like,
you're like, I can't even imagine just getting nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's horrible. But also we as a country don't take care of our citizens, and that's why I'm anti-capitalist. The end. I like call
Ride 'em cowboy.
Ride 'em cowboy. And that's why I hate capitalism. Ride 'em cowboy. Call
Please put your clothes back on.
Ocasio-Cortez. We get naked in the bed. It's my dream.
Can't believe I got bamboozled to tell a wiener tale on a
on an anti-capitalism episode.
On my socialist podcast that I've taken over. I'm like, this is my podcast, and it's about socialism.
You're like, I ask you guys the questions.
Yeah, I'm like, I interview you guys, and then we all decide that we're socialists. Do you guys feel okay? But here's another question for the podcast that I've taken over.
Yes.
Do you guys feel like throughout the pandemic, have you started just leaning more towards socialism? Because I feel like I have, because I'm just like, wow, we need a government that will like, or at least just a system that will like take care of its people.
So I work in healthcare, so I've thought I've thought two things. I've thought medical care should be socialized and Americans should have realistic expectations. Because when I talked to, I was talking to someone that lives in England. This was like 2 years before this happened. And he was like, yeah, it's socialized. And if you have a ton of money, you can like buy up. So like everybody gets the care that they need. If you want to pay extra money, you can have better food or a private room, which is like, yeah, okay. To me, I'm like, that makes sense because I do feel like you should be able to like work towards having a better life. But I think our baseline life needs to be a lot better than what it is. And so I think the same in working with people like patients who take advantage of services that are offered, I think we need, like, we will give people free rides to treatment, but then it'll be like the ride comes at 11, so can your appointments be at 11? And they're like, no. And you're like, oh, do you have to be somewhere? And they're like, no, there's a show. Like I've had people be like, there's a show that I watch at 11 that I want to watch. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Well, your ride's at 11. So it's so like, I'm like, we're Americans are still Americans, unfortunately. Whereas like when you go to Iceland and I've talked to like citizens of Iceland who are like live in like what we think our utopia is. And this guy, like his government job is, he's like, I'm the bus driver that drives you back to the airport. And I'm like, do you like your job? And he's like, oh, it's so great. I love it. I talk to people, blah, blah, blah. How many Americans would be like satisfied with driving people to the airport every day and that's their job? So I think like, I definitely think medical care should be socialized. And I think Americans also need to have more realistic expectations of like what a stay in a hospital is like. Like the food's gross. I don't think it should be like prison slop, but I also don't think like every I don't think people should go to the ER for every cough that they have. Like, everyone's like, Canada is so amazing. And you're like, they don't go to the doctor for a cold. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I equate it to my brief stint working in a chocolate shop that was like, while you're working, you can eat as much chocolate as you want. And people hear that and they're like, oh my God. And you're like, I can't have 8 hours of peanut butter cups. Like, I want.
Yeah,
I want
like,
one when I
that.
really need one, and then a quick one on my way out.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And I see what you mean too, because I think that sometimes people think of like these countries, especially because Katie, you're from upstate and we're like closer to Canada.
Yes.
I'm from like very close.
You're
to
very
Canada.
close. Yeah.
Very close. I'm from Rochester, so we're like in.
That's why you're so
Ontario.
nice.
Yeah, that's why I'm so nice, and polite. But I feel like I spent a lot of time when I first started doing comedy. I spent a lot of time in Toronto. I would do a lot of shows in Toronto, and I think that like people have this weird. A lot of Americans have this weird idea of Canada as this like utopia
Yeah.
where, like no one is racist or sexist or homophobic. And I'm like, that's not accurate. Like,
I feel like we're so ashamed of ourselves that we just like project like the opposite of our shame on other people. It's like, well, we're so awful. No countries
as
that
bad
we
as
like
us.
could possibly have problems. And it's like, well, no, just fix your shit, and then other people will try to work on
Look
theirs.
in the mirror, ride 'em cowboy.
Yeah. On that note, ride 'em cowboy.
I know we're talking about socialism, but then it did make me think of that. Do you think that those whispers like informed your sexuality at all? Or do you think that it was already happening and then you're just like, hey, not bad?
Well, that is a very good question. Very nice that you brought it back to our original topic of Ride 'em Cowboy and my experiences with the Girl Scout leader's daughter. I think
Ride 'em Girl Scout.
Ride 'em Girl Scout. I think when I was little, I mean, I think that my whole life, like when I was a kid, I think that I always liked I always liked girls in a way that I was like that I didn't think was weird. Like I thought it was like normal, and I was like, this is how everyone is. And then like when I was in high school, starting in high school and then like kind of going into college, I would like have these like really, really intense friendships with girls where I was like, this is my best friend, but like in a way that was like very, like looking back
very
on it,
attached.
Like, yeah, like I'd be like very jealous and upset, and I was like, they can't have a boyfriend, right? So like looking back on that, I'm like, that's kind of weird. So maybe I was, I'm not sure if the experience really like activated something within me, and then I was like, ooh, this is hot. Or if I was, honestly, my memory of it is just that it was like a pleasant experience. Like, like when you watch like ASMR videos of people.
It probably was just like being close, like intimate with someone without having like pressures of performing any sex at that age, like obviously, but just not having to do anything you're not comfortable with. And then just like close whispers is probably like a nice way to feel close to somebody.
It was like a nice little comforting, like it was, I don't remember thinking of it ever as like weird or like, but I also don't really remember thinking of it as like very sexual, even though I know like looking back it sounds very sexual.
Yeah.
I think I was just like, oh, this is like nice. She whispers strange things.
So did you guys, I do want to ask this, like, I know we're running close on time, but like after you guys got in trouble, how did your friendship like evolve after that? Did you guys stay close friends? Like, would you consider that you guys were best friends when this was happening?
I don't think that she was like my best friend, but we definitely were close friends. And then like I feel like after that happened, we kept hanging out, and I don't even remember that being that big of a deal, even though it was like very horrifying, and I was like, the grandma's so mad, but like I don't remember it being that big of a deal. But then I think just by the time we went to like middle school and then in high school, we just stopped being friends because she got very into like, I don't know, like the Abercrombie lifestyle, you know? And I was like, no, I had to be friends with all these like nerd, like queer people instead. So I think we went our separate ways.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think I really do. I'm so curious. Like I sometimes do want to ask her like what she thought about that time or like if she
Yeah.
identifies as straight or like, but then she's just not really the type of like woman that I think would want to have that conversation. So,
Right.
She doesn't
Right.
want to
That was
revisit
probably
that.
the
Yeah.
like most open-minded point of her life.
yeah. Yeah. Like I don't think she's like a Trump supporter yet.
No, no,
But I
no.
think no, but I do think that she's leaning in that direction. Like she like lives in the South now and she's very into
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you know,
Being
she
the
has a
good.
husband. She calls her
Yeah.
husband her hubby, you know, it's like
Oh,
that kind of a vibe.
Mm.
I will
Mhm.
never have a hubby.
I
No.
know. I
No.
was married for 5 years and I still never referred to my husband as my hubby. Like I
No.
can't imagine doing such a thing ever
No.
in my life.
No.
So yeah, she's kind of that type of person. But you know, maybe I don't know. Maybe one day she'll listen to the podcast and then she'll reach
She
out to me.
might.
She
What if
might.
she sees this on Facebook and is like, because she'll read
Yeah.
like what the blurb is.
Oh my
She's
God.
like,
Yes, she might.
yeah.
It's funny. I like talk so much about stuff like in my album and then like on stage and on podcasts. I talk about and I'm so like maybe you guys are like this too, but I'm always so like just not thinking about people listening to it.
Yeah.
Like I'm always just like, oh, whatever. And then my girlfriend was like, well, you have to remember that like maybe don't say my full name on a podcast because I'm like a fucking lawyer. And I was like, oh, you're a lawyer? Okay, good for you.
Cool.
Okay, well, I make $5 a second. I really like. I don't know.
Okay, but do you get paid in wings? So
I know. I'm like, I'm very rich. Like,
You're like, I'm not gonna get the wings if I don't tell this story. So
yeah, exactly.
is
She's
what
been
it
very
is.
nice about everything, but I do think I don't know. My husband was always very chill about things. He really didn't mind, but I think for her it's been like weirder because she also comes from like a Irish Catholic upbringing and stuff. And I think sometimes she's just like, why are you telling stories on podcasts about me like fucking you against a wall or something? And I'm like, that's what we talk about. Like
That's just a thing.
just casual chats
yeah, that's what girls talk about.
It's just
with
girl
our
talk.
headphones and microphones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like everyone's listening. I'm saying your full name. You're like,
You're like, and then I yell out her full name.
yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah, and then she gets disbarred. Then she cannot practice law.
And you guys are living
whoops.
off your chicken wing salary.
Yeah. She's like, oh, well, I hope that you're going to start making more money now.
I used to work for divorce lawyers and it like where we lived, right? And so
Yeah.
like one of our clients came in one day and was like, and we have actually had a few clients who were like, hey, I saw you because the comedy theater that I worked at was 4 blocks away. And I'd be like,
Yeah.
hello, sorry for what you're going through. I think, okay,
Oh,
thank you for saying
no.
I'm
Oh my
funny.
God. Isn't that's so awkward though, you know, when you see them like you see people out in public and they're like, oh, I saw you at that show, blah blah blah. And that used to happen to me as a nanny. Like sometimes I'd run into people and I'd be like at the zoo with a child and they were like, oh my God, you were so funny at the comedy club. And then they would be like, is this your kid? And I would be like, no. This is just a kid.
Not
Don't worry
at
about it.
Perk of the glamorous career choice I've chosen is
Yeah.
I need a second job.
Yeah, right. And people don't understand that. Like people are just like, oh, you're a comedian. I see you working at the comedy club a lot, so you must be rich. And you're like, no. I'm hosting at the comedy club. I'm getting paid $30 a
Yeah,
show.
exactly. You're like, can I live off of $30?
Yeah. Probably not. So.
Like, not if I'm getting 2 drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to pay for my drinks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, Madelein, where can people find you online?
Well, thank you for asking. You can find me on Instagram. My name is Madelein Smith. It's spelled weird, but You can see it in the show description. And on Twitter, it's Madelein Murphy. And if you want to be friends with me on Facebook, you totally can. I feel like I'm keeping Facebook going. I know that people are like, Facebook is only for old people and like our moms, but I'm still on there.
I'm on there too.
Yeah, you guys are still on. We're all on there.
on
Yeah.
All three of us are on there.
We're on
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. And I also have a website, madeleinsmithcomedy.com. But yeah.
And don't forget to check out your album. Madelein has a comedy album out, and we will put the link for that too. Because
Buy it.
Yeah,
Thank
it needs
you,
to be heard.
I was telling these guys at the start when it first came out in July, it was like #1 on the charts, and I was like, oh fuck yeah! And then like immediately, like 2 days later, it was not on the charts anymore. I had my day in the sun for like 1 second. It is nice when you have an album come out because like for 1 second everyone's really into it, but then they like move on very quickly. So
The charts, they are fickle, but the
Yeah.
content is good, so buy it.
Yeah, we'll put the link out.
thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. You guys are so sweet and funny.
Thank you for coming.
You're
We're
sweet
so
and funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. All the thanks.
All the
Anything else,
things.
Katie?
And guys, subscribe. Leave us those reviews, please. We love them. They're our lifeblood
Write us
right
something
now.
funny. I'm gonna steal from other people's podcasts and write something funny in a review, and we'll read it online. And
Yeah.
if you don't, you're a coward.
Don't make me bleach my hair. That's what I'm going to do if I don't have reviews to read. All right, guys. Till next week. Bye.
Bye.